I've never really been someone who saw entrepreneurship as some kind of thing I wanted to go into. However, through the different phases of your life, new patterns about your life are unlocked phase after phase, and you must be open to receive what the next phase holds for you. I used to trust everybody until they give me a reason not to. Now, I don't trust anybody until you give me a reason to trust you. It is not easy to instantaneously inculcate in people the ownership mentality that you find easy to have. If you have 2 people in 10 who have the ownership mentality that is really required to take a business to the next level, the entrepreneurial spirit that is needed to ensure overall productivity, hold on to them. The fuel of social capital is integrity. That if people recommend you, what they recommend is what people will know. Who they say you are is who you truly are. That you are no fair weather. That you're not a person who will say I'll be there and will not end up being there. Be a person of integrity. Have a price, but your price should not be money.
Hello, Africa, and you're welcome to another episode of CEOs Unscripted. My guest today is a genius. There's nothing he has put his hands into that is not a success. Well, he may say otherwise, but trust me, successful at what he does, is a proficient, prolific speaker, is a leader par excellence. He has multiple businesses, is a polyglot, is a polymath, is somebody you always want in your corner. Is the man, the myth, the legend, the Olushola.
For a second, I was wondering who you were introducing. But I guess he was trying to say that's me.
Yeah,
right?
That's you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for choosing to impart knowledge. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you so much. Let me let you do the honors of telling the world what you do. I know he has a couple of businesses. He's a major employer of labor in West Africa, Nigeria, West Africa. He's a consultant. So please shoot.
I think he's pretty much said it all. So first and foremost, I must start by saying that when you get high praises, right, it matters where the high praises are coming from. Or in this case, who the high praises are coming from. So I need to first and foremost demystify the host for a bit, because many a times he's always at the end of talking about every other person, but the person talking and introducing me is actually my mentor. So I'm privileged to have been blessed by him in multiple ways. Okay.
Thank you.
So in that case, I'll start by saying that everything he has said so far, to a given extent, could be right about who I am.
I'm sorry, I missed out many things.
He's
about to tell us the many more things.
I would like to call myself a highly effective personality. I'll put it that way. So, yes, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Yes, I'm a speaker. Yes, I'm an employer of labor. Yes, you can call me a polymath. I'm trying to remember everything that I am.
Polyglot.
Polyglot. I'm a failed polyglot. I used to be. I call myself a failed polyglot. I used to be quite proficient in speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
I took keen interest in that language because a lot of people do not know that after the Chinese Mandarin, the Spanish language is the largest spoken indigenous language in the world. Yeah. About 500 million people speak it indigenously. Yes. Even more than English, indigenously. English is more like the second language of the entire world. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Although the official language of the world, but the second language of the entire world in a way. So I started learning Spanish. It was pretty good. Could speak, could write, could hear. But then there are certain giftings or certain proficiencies that wear out when you do not practice them.
But you speak Yoruba. So
I speak Yoruba, I speak Pidgin, I speak English, I speak in tongues. So yes, Spanish. I'm coming back for Spanish. Then after that, I want to do the goal for me is actually to be a hyper polyglot. Someone who can speak 7-8 languages and all, because I'm trying to go into all the world. So I do not want there to be any limitations.
Amazing.
And everything. So yes, I think I'd say that. Then also a public figure of some sort. A media influencer. I influence for the sake of brands. I help them get mind share in the hearts of prospective customers. I'm quite a number of things.
So he's also the CEO of Trips Clothing.
Yep.
Clothiers or clothing.
Clothing, yeah.
Yeah. He's also the CEO of BuySoups.ng. It's a tech company that has revolutionized the way we buy soups. So when you think that one particular market is saturated, somebody is bringing something very innovative. I think you should check it out. BuySoups.ng. Then Smokey Jollof.
Oh yeah.
Smokey Jollof. I mean, just building into tech. Bringing tech into our regular days. Our regular buy. What they call it, staple foods, and some things that are regular to human beings. And I think that those are the things that can scale, like Uber, taxis, Airbnb, hotels, So I think he does more than he's trying to say here, and I wonder why. So thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir.
So I want to first start by asking very funny question. If you were in a movie,
Okay.
what character will you be?
What character will I be?
Yeah.
One of two characters, right?
Okay.
I'll start with the maybe not so serious one. I won't be a lover boy. Yeah, but then secondly, and most importantly, I want to be the person that the main character comes in contact with, that revolutionizes his thinking and in turn changes his life.
Why so deep?
How now?
Why
No,
so
now.
deep?
What did I just say?
That's
That's where I want to be, and that's the theme of my life. That's exactly what I want to be in real life, also.
So starting business, I've always known him. He's been a billionaire all his life. He's shocked. Okay, so take us through your journey, because I know you bootstrapped. You've gone through hell and high waters and you've come out on top. Take us through your journey of starting business. How did you come about your first business?
Wow, quite a journey. I would start by saying that first and foremost, I owe everything that I am or will be to two things, right? The inspiration of God and the people that I connect with. It's very important. And every single thing I'm going to say bothers around everything, So what you could call coincidences could be divine orchestrations, right? So I'll put it this way. So for me, I'd never always been entrepreneurial from the get-go. I'd always been more of a philosophical person. I'd always been really brilliant from childhood. I'd always been an orator par excellence since I was young. When I was young, I was born into the family of a lawyer dad and an engineer mom. Okay, so so we were like upper middle class. And then I lost my dad at 7. But before he died and even after he's dead, everyone had always said, Shola is going to be a lawyer because he's the one who won't stop talking when we were young and everything. So it was always like that. And then I went through school. Okay, I was going to be a lawyer. Okay, I was just one of the best guys in class then. I just always wanted to be an intellectual. Then one thing led to another. I got into the university to study sociology. I was always very enthused about theories, theoretical ideologies. I just wanted to know why society was the way it was or the way it is. And then, one thing after another. So I've never really been someone who saw entrepreneurship as some kind of thing I wanted to go into. However, through the different phases of your lives, I'll put it this way, new patterns about your life are unlocked phase after phase, and you must be open to receive what the next phase holds for you. So I just found out that when I got to my third year at the university, and I'd always been big on leadership. I was in some school politics. I think I was maybe the youngest. I was probably the youngest executive level association member in my course's history, probably even the school's history. At 16, I was already vice president of my association. At 17, I was president, and all. And then I played, not Godfather, but I played, I made sure that my best friend became the president after me. He was capable though.
Nepotism.
Hold on.
Nepotism.
Hold on. He was capable though. He was capable. You know,
Okay.
I'm just teasing. But yeah, you know, he came right on board because he wanted to, and then I didn't want to. I relinquished power because I felt that I'd gotten to a point where I was influential enough,
transcended,
and
yes.
then I felt like I'd done amazingly well, and it was time for other people to going. So long and short is I always liked the idea of leadership. But then I found out that at some point in my third year, fourth year, I started seeing opportunities in places that many people saw limitations. Back at school, we used to buy food from cafeteria every single time.
Yeah.
And you had a similar journey, you know. So I said, okay, when they shut the halls at 10 and when the cafeteria closes at 9, a lot of people are hungry. What can I do? I was raised by a widowed mom who was sending me money. I don't want to put hand to mouth, but she was sending me money every single week on more or less a day-to-day basis. So it was so funny that she was managing, an engineer mom who had to shut down a company. She was one of the highest producing highest producing nylon companies in the whole of Lagos Central.
Okay.
You know, it was big company. They had to shut down because of power shortage, a lot of things.
Wow.
You know, debts were rising because of the
Power consumption.
power consumption was terrible. So she now went back to her first or second love, which was catering. So she was managing canteens of big companies, and then that was how the sales of the day was what she was sending to me.
Wow.
So I felt like, look, bro, you're gonna have to add to your crowd to make more money for yourself. So then I spotted a challenge. People wanted to eat stuff after. So what can I do? So I started buying drinks and gala from the buttery. So I could buy 50 naira, sell the gala 70 naira, or
Wait,
2
you
for
were
150.
buying from the buttery?
Yup, I was buying from the buttery. Buy from the buttery. The only difference between myself and the person buying is that I bought from the butchery and I sold to you 1 hour later. It's just that's a butcher shot by 9.
Timing, yeah.
By 10:30, 11, I know you're hungry. So you're gonna come. So I made more money than I could have envisaged.
Wow.
From just about a month of doing that, and all. And then that was my very first foray into something a bit entrepreneurial. Although I'd always been a very fantastic salesman. I always say I can sell coffee to a dead man. I'm not joking.
Then who pays for it?
Oh my! So yeah, I just sell anything. But then that was where the whole foray started. And then talking you through my journey, I quit. I quit. I left the university. I was top of my class. I was first class graduate. Great guy. Had a bright future ahead of me. If you had asked my average classmate, they would have told you Shola was going to be a professor in 10 years. Wow. I was that good. I was so good. I take tutorials offhand without notes.
What?
Ask anyone.
From today, I'm calling you prof.
I was literally that good. I loved what I was studying.
Yeah,
I loved sociological theories. I just really loved it. So, and I loved teaching. So everybody felt, Shola. Anyways, cut the long story short. When I got into the real world, I just found out that I didn't want to do 9 to 5. I was totally restless. So one of the major banks in the banking industry in Nigeria were so much trying to get me on board. After I finished their interviews, I remember that they invited me to come for the job or for the final interview before getting the job. And I looked my mom in the eye that day in the sitting room and I was crying. I said, I don't want to do this. And then I was blessed with such a mom that, these parents, I'll just say, I've put your life in God's hands. Whatever you want to do, I'll support.
Whoa.
So that's my mom. That's my mom for you.
You're the final stage.
That's my mom. I was the final stage that I wasn't going to do. And then they were paying good money compared to now.
Yeah.
So and I was like hot cake. I was 19 when I graduated university. I was 20 when I was done with my youth service. So a 20-year-old boy, they were sold. When I had my first panel interview, they were sold. So I just said I wasn't going to do this. I just told my mom, I was crying. I told my mom, this is not my part. My mom just looked and said, no, anything, I'm okay, that's fine. So you know what I did? I started selling. I sold Forever Living products. Oh, God. They need a tell person.
MLM.
I did it now. I sold Red Living products for a while. I sold. I had this woman in Ijesha that was always buying from me. She loved me, loved my spirit. It was good. At the point, it wasn't really for me. So I went into cryptocurrencies. I made my first, what you could call your first million. How do people calculate that first million? Is it all the money you put together, or the 1 million at a go?
At a go.
At a go. No be
Yeah,
at a
at a
go.
go.
No be at a go. If not at a go.
But well, no, not
Is it
within
at a
a
go?
year.
Oh, be alright if it's by that one. I made my first one. So yeah, I made some good money from cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
But and then I was playing an advisory role to the then founder of one of the, cryptocurrency adaptation was very novel in Nigeria around 2015, 16, 17. So I was one of the first movers, right? And then one of the guys who owned the biggest community for crypto adoption in Nigeria, I was arguably his right-hand man at the time.
Wow.
So I was helping him structure the business in terms of the comms aspect, PR aspect. So I was doing pretty good. But then yet again, I became quite restless, and all. But along that time, I'd always been a writer. I published my very first book at the age of 18. So I was writing my second book, and then my money from crypto, I got an admission to go for my master's abroad. I didn't go. I shut it down. Also, I published my book instead, stayed in Nigeria. And then a couple of coincidences led me to founding my very first business.
Okay.
Now, what exactly is the coincidence? Very interesting. So, when I was in my third year at the university, I was assistant president. I used to wear suits. I really loved suits. I always loved suits. And then something strange happened. Because I loved wearing suits, I just didn't really know where to buy suits from. So third year into fourth year, I'm doing my sideways, but it's not compulsory, right? It's just like an end of vacay job at Niger Insurance. Got plugged in by my best friend at the university, David Ebebuna, whose dad was HR of an insurance company. That just plugged me in, long and short. So I'm working there, and then guess where it was? At Odunlami, 54 Odunlami, Lagos Island, off Broad Street. And now Broad Street is home
Materials.
to the suits. It's like suit headquarters in the whole of Nigeria. So we go in. There's this place. I'm going to give them free promo if possible. Dejosi. Dejosi. They are on Broad Street. Okay. These guys sell suits. Low end, yes, but they sell it like they bring it in mass and they sell. So back then in 2014, May, June, July, holidays, I was going there to buy suits for 6,000 naira. Myself and my best friend. So we'll buy a lot of suits. I always love looking good. But then the question was, I'm buying on retail. I want to make my own suits. I want to make my own stuff. So what then is the issue? So at roughly that period, I'd always wanted to make clothes. So I, first of all, tried to do it one time. It failed. The tailor messed me up. Apparently, I got to the shop. It was not the owner of the shop I met. I met one of the boys learning work, and I want to spot my work. So funny thing happened. 2017, I just published my book. I knew that there were suit tailors, and I knew that there were places to buy these materials, but I just really know how to navigate it. And then the person who helped design my book cover is a pastor friend of mine, Pastor K. So I had built, which one of the things I'm going to talk about? Social capital, social currency, very important.
Yes.
I built a great relationship with my pastor off just a pastor member relationship. So he goes, here's what I want to do for your book, right? I don't have all the money in the world, but the only thing I want to do for your book is that I want you to give Pastor K something, for helping you design, right? So I don't really think Pastor K knows this, right? I want to give Pastor K something for helping you design your book, right? And what I want you to do is something that you will like. I will never forget. So he gives me he budgets about 12 to 15,000 naira at the time and says, I have a tailor on the island. Come and go to him and then let him make a suit jacket for Pastor K. That's my gift to you, and you will give it to Pastor K in turn as thanks for that stuff. So I'd always wanted to make suits. I knew, but I didn't know the market so much. I didn't really know everything that was happening. So next thing, I go to the market, and then I meet this guy, the tailor, and then he said, okay, let's go and buy the material and all. So immediately, that spark came up and look, what you tried to do before and you failed at, there seems to be maybe more trustworthy tailors here, more this, more that you could end up using to, hit your goals. So that was it. And that was how I called it supernatural coincidences. But from that moment henceforth, I didn't want to use my pastor's tailor because it won't make much sense.
Yes.
I didn't introduce you to someone for someone's sake, for you to now commercialize it. Come on, it's wisdom, right? So I now found tailors around that place that I could start with at least. And then that was how Trips Clothing started.
Wow.
Now, I already, because first and foremost, I must say this. I don't put the cart before the horse, in the sense that many people have a product and then look for a market to fit their product. Whereas you're supposed to find a market, look at the challenges, look at the, the holes, and then the gap in the market, and bring a product to fit it. So I already knew that there was a market for it. So then one day I'm playing game. The only thing I know how to do to relax, I play FIFA. I'm playing FIFA in my mom's house that day, and I just looked back and I said, you know what, guys? A lot of my friends were using this word then, trips. Hey, put them on trips. Hey, it put you on trips, tripping. Puts me on trips. It was like a raining word at the time. Now, another coincidence is that I grew up with a mom who was extremely accommodating. So there's arguably none of my close friends who has not passed the night in my house or lived with us at some point in time. So a lot of my friends are always in the house then. So then we're just finishing service and everyone was just excited and all. So around the house, I'll be joking, put them on trips. One of my friends then, Mom, see, they put me on trips. I'm like, trips. And then, can I shock you? Despite the fact that I'd always had the intention to do something in fashion, without that name resonating, I probably may not have started the way I did. And then one day I'm playing FIFA. I think it was FIFA 2018 at the time, because the edition comes before the new year. So 2018, I can't remember. I'm playing FIFA and I just turned. No one played me then because I was too good. So I'm playing game. I just turned and I'm like, Mama, you know what? I'm going to start a fashion brand. I want to sell suits. I'm going to name the suits Trips Clothing. And my mom, usual, my typical mom, okay. And then she continues. And then that was it. That's how Trips started. Wow. So it started, there's this first class graduates, quote unquote local genius, international one now, by the way, amen. At the time, who leaves everything. And don't get me wrong, I could, with my certifications and with my core competencies and proficiencies at the time, I strongly backed myself to get into any dream job at that point in time. I knew what I had, but I didn't want to go that line or toe that path. And I said I was going to do what I really wanted to do. I always knew what I wanted to do in the long run was going to have something to do with speaking. Let's get this, with speaking, but many times, like Denzel Washington would say, you're going to have to do what you have to do to be able to do what you want to do. So I said, you know what? I'm going to start Trips. And then, let me be clear. Around that same time, 2017, beginning towards 2018, I had started a career on the side. It was an event hosting career. Can you remember I used to host events? Yes,
I've almost forgotten.
A lot of people have forgotten. I used to be mentored by someone that I'm eternally grateful to, and I'm going to have to talk about him very soon one day. Ikpon Wasa Osaki Odua. Ike Osaki Odua. It is arguably the most reputable events compare in the whole of West Africa.
You shout out to him at the end of the...
Yes, I have to give him a huge shout out. So Ike, and there was someone, you know her, Tosin Bokna, the popular voice of Lagos, who was at Top Radio back then, was the very first person to put me on radio. Wow. She's late now. I owe a lot to her. So my point is, that was really what I wanted to do. Talking, but now speaking on a global scale is like merging my oratory prowess with my intellectual dexterity. That's where they both meet now.
Right?
But then the hosting thing and the mentoring was a way of honing that skill, to a great
I
extent.
see.
So long and short, because of the sake of the interview, because me and you, we can talk
We
for
can
hours,
talk,
right?
yeah, I
But
know.
for the sake of this, I have to wrap it up soon. So trip started that way. That was how Trip Clothing started. Started with being a one-man business. I'd go get markets. Started telling people about it. I started by wearing my clothes first. They loved it. From then, started buying materials for people, sewing. Blah 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 blah. Had my very first customer. From there, had second, had third, and I started building. And then I had a personal touch to every single thing I was doing.
Amazing.
They were buying because I was selling, and then I had to make sure everything was great. So that was how I built for the initial phase. And then before I knew it, I had my very first employee. I had the second, I had the third, I had the fourth, and we kept on building. And that was how that started.
Amazing.
Later on I might talk about, if you ask me, about how I became a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah, we're going to ask the question.
That's it.
So I want to jump right in. We've heard the background. What would you say has been the most challenging singular element in being an entrepreneur?
Can I say it?
I know it starts with P.
People.
I know. Then let me make it top two. Tell me the first one. Because people is now.
I don't think initially I might have said access to funding, but never for me, because I've got human capital. I've got people, not human capital. I've had people capital. I've had people currency. I can spend it anytime.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't think it's been funding. I would say resoundingly people. People.
Tell me, buttress it with one example.
Holy
that
Ghost.
has been etched into your mind.
You're opening a can of worms.
I'm telling you.
I'm sure my ear is in the background and he's smiling at the moment. Is he smiling?
Yes, just smiling, just a little.
He should be frowning right now because we've had our fair share.
So, what tops the list?
What tops the list? My God.
That
fair share of betrayals. Fair share of betrayals. I put it this way, Egbon, because I want to tie it up.
Okay.
What tops the list, first and foremost for me, is initially I did not have the fine balance between empathic and ruthless. I grew up in a family of quote and unquote stupid givers. Stupid givers. My father could cut his eye for someone. My mom would give out our generator and we'll come back home during the holidays and ask her where is it. They needed it more than me. My elder brother, terrible. His entire earnings for a year, he could give it out to people and he left with nothing.
Oh my God.
And then
I see why he said stupid givers.
Stupid givers. Stupid. They know they're stupid givers. And then I became like that.
Not me.
No, they're stupid givers. They know. Like
Wow.
I said respectfully.
So,
and I became a stupid giver. So, I mean, it's in the family. It runs in the blood. So, that translated to how I dealt with people. I'm an amazing person, I like to believe, right? But then when I started building, hold on, this will help capture it. Because if people think I'm talking about, this is it.
yeah.
I used to trust everybody until they give me a reason not to. Now, I don't trust anybody until you give me a reason to trust you. You see the difference?
Yeah.
When I start a business, I'll make sure every of my employees were okay, give everyone a raise before their time. I'll go hungry. But because I'd never been a money-driven person, more of a value-driven person, I always felt as long as the business is fine, and as long as I'm building and shaping lives, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And then I'll just give you one or two examples and then we'll game on this. Where do I begin? Because I had to build structure and learn to build it fast.
Yeah.
I entrust a lot of things in people's hands. So I started a business sometime 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I entrusted it in the hands of someone who I called a business manager at the time. I put the basic structure in place, built a team around her, and made her call the shots. Only for one day, I had grown in popularity and social credence, and then someone hits me up and sends me a message and goes, "Hi, Olushola. Please, hi, Pastor Shola. I'm a pastor, by the way, for some of you watching. Hi, Pastor Shola. I'm about to pay money into a particular account. But this does not look like the official company account.
Wow.
It's the account of someone. Is this okay for me to pay? And then I'm shell-shocked. I'm in my Trips HQ office, and then I'm almost trembling. I'm like, wow, this is the private account of the business manager.
It's always those you trust.
You know, now this is someone that I don't want to go into details, right? And then that day, I leave my office, run to my EA, who was in the conference room that day, and I show him. And because of his relationship with that person too, because he sometimes does like a supervisory role for me with my other businesses, you know, runs points with the manager, like, hey, what's happening here, you know, stuff like that. So next thing, he looks at the message, and then there were tears in his eyes.
My God.
You know why? He had built a bond with this person to a great extent, so he did not expect it.
Wow.
So long and short, the person was stealing my money. I had been doing so for 6 months. So sales were plummeting, and usual me, I could have made drastic decisions to have booted her out because of the plummeting of sales. The sales were plummeting. Like, we needed to make more money. When she came in, things started going down. So crazy stuff was, the empathy thing comes into play. If I let her go, where will she find a job? If I do this one, what will happen here? I just kept on dragging my feet without knowing that the very person I was being sympathetic towards had been stealing from the pot. But anyways, I have several examples. I'll just give you the final one and then we move on. People in two senses, right? Apart from the dishonest aspect, another part also is that it is not easy to instantaneously inculcate in people the ownership mentality that you find easy to have, right? If you have 2 people in 10 who have the ownership mentality that is really required to take a business to the next level, the entrepreneurial spirit that is needed to ensure overall productivity, hold on to them. 2 in 10 is a huge number. Sometimes I find it hard to get 1 in 30. So that's a challenge. The second one I want to talk about, which ties up the whole ruthlessness thing, finally, is I had this same sales story. I had the sales team lead for my business trips. He made a mistake, cost us about 7 figures.
Wow.
That mistake cost us 7 figures. When he made that mistake, I felt, what? It's a sackable offense. And then I look at the guy. I'm like, this is not your first mistake. But because this is your first major mistake, and because I loved him and I was trying to help him build to take me to a particular level, I said, you know what, we won't fire you, but you're going to pay about 30% or 40% of that money. I'll spread it across your salary over the next 6 months, just so it doesn't choke you so bad. And he says, thank you so much, sir. I'll say this. I've never said it to anyone, apart from maybe my ear. I don't even think he knew. Because his salary had been cut, and he was a man, I felt guy man to guy man. Hold on. By saying he was a man, what I meant is that he had a lot on his plate at the time.
You were reimbursing?
I was sending him, doing him little favors. There was a time I called him into the office, told him to give me his girlfriend's account, and then I sent him money to our account. In fact, there was a time I from the company, sent him some extra money, sent to another account so the COO and the accountant do not know that it was to him. I just did it more like a CSR. Right? And then because I'm accountable to my structure, they just say, oh, CSR. Pashala had done a CSR. Maybe to somebody who we needed to help. The business needed to help.
That's why governance is
extremely needed.
Because there's no what CSR.
What CSR? No. It was.
Did you do it
exactly?
To?
And I had to explain. I had to explain. I think I explained what it was. But they, at the time, I think we were trying to give 1 or 2 people some funding, right? So they saw it as though we were giving those 2 people
who needed
the money and all. So it was CSR. So because if they had seen it in his account, they would have asked me questions. And I don't take a penny.
And
without,
you were going out on a limb for this person.
God bless you. For this particular guy.
And he probably did not appreciate it.
Hold on. I'm wrapping it up now. And then this particular guy, something funny happens. All through that period of punishing him for the mistake he made and all, just trying to make things better. And I'm still helping him in the background.
You know, finally.
And then I finally wrote off the debt. after one end of the month get together. I was excited. Everyone was happy. We can say, you know what? I'll write off your debt. It was a good month, you know. And then we wrote off the debt. He was so happy. He was so excited. Thank you, boss. Blah, blah, blah. I said, well, it's fine. Anyways, this guy continued to make a number of mistakes. I could have put him out at that point. But then again, one excuse came up after another. I'm saying all of that to say one thing. In the end, the moment salaries were paid on a particular month, this particular guy sends in a resignation letter without any lieu of notice, takes his leave, and exits the company.
Was he in the office when he sent?
I wasn't in the office. He timed my absence, submitted to the CEO, typed it, sent a mail, and left. And then he left us at a particular point that hurt. With an SOP and with good recruitment, you might not necessarily feel it so bad, but at that time, we had made some changes, and we had laid off one or two people, and then he's at the core of everything revenue because he's a sales team lead. And then he leaves without any lieu of notice, exits and flees. This same guy. Well, they know the third person.
They are not the third person. I think, like you said, people. I've had some conversations with people on camera, off camera, and this keeps coming back. people. Some who are entitled, some who are high flyers, some who underperform and still expect that entitlement. Some who were performing at a point, then they got stuck in the praises of the past. Quite a number of things.
About that.
Yeah.
There's one. Sorry to cut you in. So one of the things. That's one. Last thing I wanted to say. One of the greatest things I've ever heard anyone say was Arsene Wenger. I think I mentioned this to you.
I think
one
you
day
mentioned to me.
I said that they asked him, what would you say is the most important quality? You've been a coach for 30 years or over 30 years, if not more. And then what's the most important quality that you say any player has ever possessed, that makes them stand out? And he said, stamina and motivation.
Stamina and motivation.
Motivation.
I remember you mentioned
stamina and motivation. What that simply more or less means is discipline. To continue at a particular wavelength, even when your natural, extrinsic motivation dims. Your capacity to intrinsically motivate yourself day after day. When an average employee resumes work, first 1 month, they're on steroids. Everyone is bubbling. After the first correction, they're still bubbling. By month 3.
Does it not tell about the culture? Does it have to do with the culture of the organization? Because there are organizations that when you come in, you have to be high up there. Like it's a bunch of high flyers, a bunch of A's, 10s, So does it say something about improving on the culture to make sure a culture that enables every employee to be a high flyer and to constantly motivate each other upward? Bump this person up, this person bumps you up. And upwardly mobile. All right. So
what I would say is this. I'd say that's very relative.
Okay.
And I'll put it this way. I'm big on OC and OD, organizational culture and organizational development.
Yeah.
Extremely. In fact, I'm of the opinion that every great organizational culture, the most important players are the second tier of management. It's one thing for the CEO and the COO to always be motivated and churn out all the strategies and everything and all.
Yes.
Well, it's the do we call them V level managers or like M level? These guys, the E level rather, the executive managers, those guys, the unit leads. These are the people, in my opinion, that run the show in terms of organizational. Now mid-level management. Now here's what I would say. When it comes to the culture, it's still two things. It's easy to say in an idealistic environment. Maybe you're talking from Manhattan. You're gisting me from Wall Street. And then you can talk about a place where, the air they breathe already, stirs that up. But here's the thing. if you're building in sub-Saharan Africa, I have a master's degree in business administration with the focus of doing business in sub-Saharan Africa. So I'm great with theoretical stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I'm great at it. However, nothing will ever prepare you for doing business in sub-Saharan Africa than doing business in sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah.
The average Nigerian who has just left the university over the past 10 years is inherently selfish. What do I mean? Because you are in a society where the leadership itself naturally cares for itself alone, that culture has found its way into the fabric of the nation. So it has a trickle-down effect, which simply means that the average employee who gets into your office is already looking for a way out the moment they come in.
Yeah.
Regardless of how huge your vision is, particularly at the beginning, if you're not big shot enough, come on, I'm still building.
Yes.
Are you getting my point? If maybe they were working in an oil company or a major fintech, now this is it. I'm extremely inspiring.
Yeah.
I'm extremely motivational, right?
Yeah.
But then many a times, I found that when it comes to inculcating the culture and the energy into people and all, a lot of times it still boils down to the person.
Yeah.
It still boils down to the person. I've been able to sell my vision time and again to effective people. They've stayed, they've worked with me, they've helped me build. But in the same vein, many a times, your adherence to the culture is dependent on other things that happen in your life. Other things happen in your life. So imagine I'm paying you, for example, 100 naira, right? Everything is great. Organizational culture is fine and all. And then just as you are coming to work, something happens to 50 naira out of your 100 naira. A family emergency takes this one takes that, the other one takes this one. There's some family grumblings and other things that begin to, one way or another, affect your capacity to come into work with such bright energy. But what we always try to do to mitigate that is usually to have the mid-level managers always in great shape, always motivating their team, giving them the best pep talks in the world and all. But many times I would say this, building an organizational culture many times, regardless of how strategic or even tactical you can be to ensuring it, is still many times down to the people you employ, which is why the most important thing I look out for when I'm employing a person, beyond competence, is attitude. Is attitude. Have you been in a near-death experience before?
Yeah.
Have you had a situation where things did not go down? Your attitude at that moment, share the experience with me, will determine if, even when the chips are down in your life or around your life, you're still able to hold. So that's what I say.
All right. Thank you very much for that. So people have been humans. Please, Africans, what can we do? Because it's becoming a pandemic. Right? It's all over the world. Everybody says people, all the top CEOs people. So we need to get to a point where individually we determine to be good human beings.
Yep.
You must determine to have principles. You must determine to represent the name of your family in good light. Present the name of your family in good light. This is not just for Africans, but people all over the world. Because if you determine to be a great human being, you keep learning, you keep improving, you be a good support system for the CEO. You ensure that anything that is put in your care is actually being monitored. You're evaluating everything that is put in your care, as it were. So if everyone determines to be great human beings, to have the best output, to be very efficient with resources, to ensure that they don't let the CEO do the work of following the vision and still monitoring them day to day, I think Africa can be way better than it currently is. Thank you for sharing that. So, what would you say is your most memorable time in business? Something that you can relive. I know the future. The future is one of the best. We're anticipating. We know that there's more in store. But what's your most memorable moment in business?
Can I be very candid?
Yes.
Because of how I'm currently wired and how I'm hoping to God to change, it's hard for me to, many times, recall memorable moments 100%. Now, by memorable, because in this context, I have a lot of memories I can recall, but memory in this context has to be something that, you know, we've talked about the bad side, which might be, you know, memorable in this context has to be something like really stood out, was making me really excited and all. Because of how I'm built, always looking at the next thing, always trying to look at the next stuff, it's kind of hard for me to remember memorable moments. What I would say is this: in as much as people may be the biggest challenges in business, people are also the biggest blessing in business. I've built lives, and I'm grateful for that. Every single day I sleep and wake, I have about 50 mouths directly connected to me, and maybe 300 more or 200 more indirectly connected to me. That's memorable for me. However, if I were to think about, to be very honest, memorable is relative. Memorable, I had many memorable moments. A time where I started small, where maybe I recorded my very first 1 million a month revenue. Another time where, in business generally, I'd say when Trips rented its very first space. Grateful to God. Then when we rented our second space, which is our current HQ, huge, nice place, in about a year. I'm sure I won't be saying huge space. It was great. But another time also was when I started a business, my very first soup supply business, what has now grown into BuySoups, during the pandemic.
Wow.
You know, memorable. And maybe last month. I think last month was the most financially rewarding month for me, entrepreneurially, in business. I think a couple of my businesses hit record figures.
Amazing.
So
I like that.
Last month. So maybe memorable.
Okay, so last month was memorable because you hit many figures. That's very close. Okay, so I want to ask, you're managing a lot of businesses. How are you doing that? How are you able to do that? And all of them hit record figures?
Hit record figures.
2 of them hit record
Scratch
figures.
that, 3 hit record figures.
Hey!
Last month.
3 of them hit record figures. So please, how do you manage all these businesses?
Thank you. To add to that, the 4th one is going to hit record figures this month.
Hey, see, I think I'm going to retire from just asking questions.
People should not mind this man.
Are you opening?
You know why?
Is there an opening?
Some people will have 4 businesses doing record figures. The 4 record figures is 1 month, 1 week.
Focus.
I'm not focusing. I will expose you.
Focus. So, how are you able to manage these multiple businesses?
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I don't think I've been able to hack it successfully. That question you just asked me is the number one thing that can produce tears in my eyes, because the very first thing I always tell myself is, as a high impact entrepreneur who has social expressions like me, I'm called to a life different to that of many people. Which means that I'm not permitted to live like a normal person or think like a normal person. So I put in more hours than the average person. I develop myself more than an average person. I do not have the luxury of free time like the average person. Now, does it have accumulated effects negatively? Yes. There's no star without a scar. Absolutely. But if you ask me how I'm able to manage every single thing, I'll put it this way. I try to a very great extent to create systems around my strategic pursuits. Systems. It still boils down to people. Find solid burden bearers and then trust the tactics to their hands. You own the strategy. Let them be tactical about it. That's what I would say has worked. As I'm talking to you right now, I've probably made it's possible I've made quite some good money today. In the last 2 hours I've been here, I've made some good money already.
Yeah.
People are working. You have to entrust that into their hands. So the very first thing I think every entrepreneur needs to first and foremost understand is that you need to let go. Let go. Your inability to let go might be hindering beautiful things. You need to let go. I know you feel you are the one who can do it best.
Yeah.
I know you feel you are the only one who can talk to your customers
Are you really?
the way you know best until you try other people out.
Yeah.
So I would say that's it. Structure, systems. I'm still, I repeat, yet to fully hack it. When I do, maybe in a couple of years, hopefully I'm able to do that successfully within the next 10 years.
Yeah.
We'll come back on Mr.
Come
Jex.
back.
By then it will be Mr. Jex Global.
Global. Hey.
Absolutely. Because this man right here is a force.
Thank
Then we
you.
can come and talk about it,
Thank
right?
you.
And I'm probably doing a whole lot more than I talked about. Because by privilege, I pastor a church with hundreds of
Okay,
people.
so let's go through your portfolio.
Ah.
A pastor, a church under the
Yeah, I'm an associate. I'm a resident pastor.
A resident pastor.
Of CEO for now of Trips Clothing.
Trips Clothing.
I am the founder and current CEO of BuySoups,
BuySoups.
which, by the way, you should look out for. We are going to
BuySoups
be at the
NG.
end of this year the biggest soup cloud kitchen in the whole of West Africa.
Amazing.
Yep. And then by the end of next year, I'm going to be the biggest cloud kitchen in total in the whole of Nigeria.
Wow.
Yep, because there are some very interesting power players at the moment. Some guys
Amazing.
doing crazier numbers, and then I've got my eyes on the top.
Amazing.
Yeah, because now beyond the competitors, that was just a joke.
Yeah.
Beyond the competitors, I believe that the market is currently
Underserved.
still absolutely.
Okay.
So yeah, that's BuySoups.
BuySoups.
I own Lagos Smokey Jollof.
Lagos Smokey Jollof.
I'm a public figure. I am the Olushola on social media.
Social media
And
influencer.
by the way,
The consult.
yes, I'm a consult. Yeah,
So
media,
there's
business
a
consultant.
social media.
Yes, there's a social media aspect.
There's a
There's a
business
consult. Yes,
consult.
it's a business consult. I'm a YouTuber.
YouTuber.
Yeah, so podcaster. I have a podcast. So I must also say that the I'm also an investor. Okay, so but the media aspect is a whole lot more complicated than a lot of people see, because as it stands right now, beyond just podcasting, when my writer's hat once more very soon.
Author now.
Yep, I've always been an author, but yeah, I'm going to wear that again. So a lot of things, and also the media aspect is quite saturated because each platform demands different things from you. So that's work. That's work. So and as an influencer also for brands, that's a different aspect on it. So so many other things. But that's
I counted about 9 things.
Really? 9?
Yeah, I counted about 9 things. That's interesting, and the way you juggle it is very interesting to hear.
I really got.
So, what's the future like for the Olushola? What are the plans, future businesses, and what are the challenges you foresee in Africa?
Phew, those are 2 different things.
Yeah.
What the future is like for me is that I'm currently on the path to becoming one of the most sought after global speakers with interests around business and self-leadership. Very important. I had to put that aspect, business and self-leadership. Then also within the media space. I'm trying to build specific things. Some of them I might not really go into details here.
Yeah.
So for example, I'm trying to build the biggest self-help podcast. Okay. Self-leadership. Self-help. Self-help. Yeah. Self-leadership podcast. In Africa, I've shared the dream with you to a given extent and all. Then I'm trying to pursue my ambition of being a reputable global speaker. Over the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to see me in the major cities of the world.
Let's have that locked in.
By God's grace. Then also, as a speaker, the way you show your workings is by showing what you've built. is very important. A lot of people have intellectual remedies to practical problems, and they will soon find out that ideas and talk are cute and cheap.
A dime a dozen.
It's very cute. But one of the reasons I had to fold my hands, and build early and talk later. You get that?
Yeah.
Some people talk first, build
try to
later,
build
find out
on
it's
the-
not easy.
Aspire to
I know
Maguire.
a lot of stories. We'll talk off camera.
Yeah.
I know a lot of stories.
Wow.
But I had to build first, and then from those experiences, so I'm gonna keep building. I'm gonna build empires. I'm gonna build businesses. I'm gonna build that. But most importantly, I'm gonna build lives. I'm currently building a mentorship network. By the end of the year, we should be up to 5,000 people on the mentorship network. Yep. Right now, we are, I don't have data, my EA does, but we are, I think, over 500 at the moment of people that I'm mentoring. I want to be, a whole lot more involved in that, because when it all matters, or when it all comes down to it, it is impossible for you to build systems. I don't want to have growth without development. I don't want to have growth, I repeat, without development. I want the growth to have a trickle-down effect. It's one thing to build the biggest businesses. It's another thing for you to have been able to build the biggest entrepreneurs. So very important. So that's it for me. That's what the future holds for me. I want to be the best God wants me to be. And just maybe, you could be seeing some political inclinations come to life very soon.
We have that locked in.
So that's it. That's it for me. I think that about solves it.
All right. So, which of your businesses will you say makes you the proudest?
Phew! No way. That's like having 3 children and asking them. That's like having 5, 7 children and asking them which one. Can I be honest?
Putting you on the spot.
Can I be honest?
Just one.
Oh boy. Proudest.
Yeah.
Proudest. My very first baby, Trips. But in about a year, that will change.
Okay.
I'm coming with a bomb.
Okay.
So that will change in about a year.
Amazing. So, what will you say are your guiding principles? Because something must have been. Something keeps you going. So this is how the question came. What keeps you motivated to keep going? Because in business, there are times when I felt like, man, let me just sell this thing.
You told
Like,
me.
it's been a while. Yeah, I've been
You
pushing it.
know the recent one.
It's about you.
You were done.
It's about you. So, like, hey, let me just sell this thing and make a couple of, some money and move on. So, what keeps you motivated? Because it's tough, man. Even when you love what you do, there are those days. How do you overcome that hump?
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this to sound cute or nice. I currently make more money from maybe one business than that is able to. I make enough money from at least one of my businesses that is able to sustain me.
Yeah.
Anybody who knows me knows that I'm not materialistic.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not ostentatious. I don't spend extraordinarily exorbitantly.
Yeah.
The only thing I look around, the only thing I think of spending my money on, maybe a new FIFA CDs out. No jokes. My pastor has been, you know him obviously, so he's been teasing me to change this your car. I have just one gene.
What?
I've been using my phone,
Minimalist.
my work phone, since how many years now? 5 years. I've never updated the OS before. I'm just very weird.
Yeah.
As long as there's food on my plate, so I make enough from one to be fine. But what keeps me going is impact. I found out that I'm happiest when people around me are happiest.
Yeah, when they're doing very well.
And then doing very well not just financially. You can be financially affluent, but never reach the point of self-actualization.
Yeah.
Every single potential must be nurtured.
Okay.
When you meet me or when you come to work in any of my establishments, you must be far better
Then.
than when you came in. So
Alright.
whenever I don't feel like it, whenever I wake up on the wrong side of the bed, whenever every single thing happens to wear out, I just say, you know what, this extra video I'm going to post.
Yeah.
This extra motivational video could be the difference between somebody getting to their goals, you know, and remaining where they are at the moment. And it keeps on playing out every single time. As somebody who is a bit of a perfectionist, most of my videos that have reached millions of people today, I never wanted to post them.
Wow.
It was my close friend who is my editor, by the way, huge shout out to him, that made me post. And then the video is doing millions of views.
Okay.
So these are the things that keep me going. The fact that I've got a word for someone, you know, I've got a role for someone. I can take a family out of penury.
What are your guiding principles?
Wow. So my guiding principles, quite a lot. I'd say first and foremost, and this is not to sound like a pastor, divine leading is a guiding principle. I just want to be the very best that God will have me be.
Preach on, pastor.
I'm just being honest. Before, I'd always known I've always been a special kid. I knew from when I was young. But I was a little bit scared at the enormity and diversity of the potential that I carried. I just felt I can do many things. But wouldn't I sound like jack of all trade? Won't people say my own is too much? Won't they say only him doing this, that? In fact, you know, these days, if you tell me, great job, I'll have to ask you, oh, on what? There's a reason, because I'm almost like, there are quite a lot of stuff. But there was a point in my life where I felt, I'm doing, you know, quite a lot. And then God just told me, he says, I'm the one who put every single one of these potentials in you. Adhering to my voice and pursuing it doggedly is what will make it kinetic. So divine direction for me is my very first principle, being the most that God will have me be. If God asks me to stop today, I'm ready to stop today. Very important, because at the end of it all, this is vision. I'm just privileged to be a courier of
that vision.
You know, that vision. Secondly, I would say guiding principles. Build social currency.
You can say that again.
Sir, I wish these people understood this. Well, I've been in your space for about 6 to 7 years now. But when it started, it was because I admired you. And I remember I'll look for you after church, some midweek services. I knew I always came across as a nice guy from the beginning. Oh, I was always funny, always jigging and playing. Yeah, that was cute. But I knew you had something that I wanted. So from when I started trips, I'd run around, ask you some very funny questions. In 2018, you told me something that changed my life forever. Oh my. Always listen to your business. Your business is always speaking. Listen. Then we were probably doing change. But I always kept listening. What was the business in that so and so point? And then I found out also that I just wanted to be of value. Then I used to write. Don't forget, I write stuff for you. Most of your stuffs back then, you know, all your expressions. What you now call, are you also aware, sir, that to a great extent, this also is an expression of EduTweak. What you're doing with School of Growth today, a giving level. You always wanted to impact lives. I made myself available to help there. And I just will never have thought that relationship will have grown into what it is today. Now, what do I mean,
Human
sir?
Capital relationship. Human relationship.
I just
Human
always
currency.
wanted to give value to people. And then the same way I am with you, that's how I just am naturally. So because I found out that you are one recommendation away. You are always one recommendation away
That's
from
important.
from everything. So build, and then third thing I want to say is build integrity. It will not matter how much social capital you've built. The huge strength of social capital, what keeps it going, the fuel of social capital is integrity. That if people recommend you, what they recommend is what people will meet. Who they say you are is who you truly are.
Yeah.
That you are no fair weather. That you're not a person who will say, I'll be there, and will not end up being there.
Yeah.
Be there for people. Be
Build
a person of integrity. Have a price, but your price should not be money. Very important. Have a price. Your price should not be money. Then the fourth thing I'll say, tenacity. Tenacity. We are in a society where people lack the tenacity needed to truly bet their dreams. When you tell me no, I'll go again. If I fail, I fail forward. I don't see failure as failure. I see it as lessons learned. That's it. That's it. Tenacity. You have to keep moving, keep going. You fail every day. I know. I know how many failures I'm privileged to know. I failed. I still failed yesterday.
I failed once. I failed once in a while.
I know once in a while. Sorry. We all fail every week. Every other day. And guess what? Because we fail that we succeed. That's it. So that's what I've learned. Tenacity. And
Tenacity,
these are the things that keep me going. And then final one I would say is sticking with the voice of my vision. Regardless. It still flows from tenacity, but you always have to ask yourself, why? And then this also finds its way in staying fresh and being innovative. Because of the vision. Because the vision is big, and to get there, yesterday's solution cannot solve today's problems. So because the vision is so big, you have to arm yourself with as much innovation as possible. You have to be resourceful. You have to keep learning. You have to... Yesterday, some days ago, I started acting like a little child. I'll bring out a note on my phone and start saying, words for today, 1 to 10. Look up. Take it away. Look up. Take it away. I must use at least 5 of the 10 words that week. Because to be a global speaker, you must have words at your beck and call.
Good command of vocabulary.
You must have a good command of vocabulary. Beyond that also, you must have a lot of substance.
Yeah.
I'm burning midnight hours. There's a given level of hours I must dedicate every single week on research.
Wow.
And until it is done, nothing else must be done.
Yeah.
So you must stay fresh. So keep listening to the voice of your vision. Be innovative. You must find a new way of doing things every single time. Yeah. And I think, in my opinion, those are, I'll say, the major things that keep guiding me.
Thank you for those guiding principles.
Thank you, sir.
Stick to the voice of your vision. Build integrity.
Yes, sir.
You said listening to the voice of God. You mentioned tenacity.
Yes, sir.
And the second one you mentioned, people currency.
Yes, sir.
Those are the 5 things that you mentioned. Thank you very much for that. I would like you to shout out to people who have inspired you.
Oh, my.
People who have helped you in your journey.
Wow. I don't know if I can remember every one of them, but
the ones you can remember
Huge shout out, first and foremost, to Almighty God. Shout out to God.
Shout out to God.
Shout out to God. Anyways, so first shout out to God. I don't like to use that shout out to God.
Yeah. So
let's praise
God. Now let's go to the human being that He has used for you.
Shout out to my mom.
True.
My family. Shout out to my friends. Shout out to my mentors. Shout out to Bishop David Oyedepo. Shout out to Apostle Emmanuel Iren. Shout out to Ike Osaki Odua. Shout out to Vusi Tembekwayo. Shout out to John C. Maxwell.
Yeah.
Shout out to a certain man, Samuel Jegede. Shout out to quite a lot of people. I just can't wrap my head around the vast majority of them at the moment, but a lot of these people have been very immense. Shout out to Dr. Ronagbe. Shout out to Isaiah Bayo, the late Isaiah Bayo.
Wow.
Shout out to, there are quite a lot people who have been there, and have been a part of my journey.
Yeah.
I'm most grateful to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now the parting shot, where you just tell Africa that one thing or two things or max three things that you want them to know. Like they're Africans, or hello Africa, or however you want to do it. This.
All right. Hello, Africans. Your dreams are valid. I tell you that with every sense of seriousness. Your dreams are valid. Never let anyone make you think small. Never let anyone make you look small. Your dreams are valid. Keep pushing for it. Keep thinking about it. Build obsession with your dreams. And keep building your dreams. And in no time, what you thought was a dream might just be a starting point to the next dream being actualized. Thank you so much.
And with that, we come to the end of this very impactful session. I hope you learned a thing or two. Please watch the video over and over again. It was beautiful having the man, the myth, the legend in here with us. And we hope to see you in subsequent sessions. Take care.